called to order the Employees Retirement System of the Government of the Virgin Islands regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for January 28, 2020 to order. But first, I would like to officially welcome our new trustee, Mr. Andrew T. Dorsey, who represents Dorsey. Welcome.
Morning, thank you.
Good morning,
You
Mr.
didn't hear me,
Dorsey,
right?
and welcome.
Thank you, sir. Morning.
All right. Roll call, please.
Welcome, Andre. Good to see you.
Attorney Pedro, nice to see you. Nice to hear from you.
Good morning, Trustee Bowery,
Present.
Trustee Dana Clendenin,
Good morning, I'm present.
Trustee Cohen,
Present.
Trustee Dorsey,
Present.
Trustee Liger,
Present.
Trustee McDonough, absent, Trustee Smith, absent, Chairman Callender,
Present.
6 present, 2 absent.
Thank you. Trustee Smith is having some difficulties with her computer. She's trying to get in. Are there any comments or suggestions from retirees? No? Okay, hearing none. We move on to communications and correspondences.
I don't have any.
I've been working with her for a couple of years now. My drummer Jay O'Brien, my bass player was Jay Winta, and with the new album it will be Justin Lee, and my new Suki singer Uma Paracha, and my raga drummer is Sabasi, who's been with me from the beginning. So yes, we're 6 of them, and I'm on the keys and I write all the keys.
I have one and I can't locate it, so I'm have to paraphrase the letter. I received a letter from admin. From Administrator Nibbs indicating his intention to retire from the system effective
Absolutely. I can acoustic double date.
June 30th, 2021.
You know, it really does.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
good morning. I think you skipped over the approval of the minutes.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. Okay, Secretary's minutes. We need approval for regular meeting of December 17 and special meeting of December 28.
Here in the calendar, I have one small thing. On page 7, there was a spelling error on the down. It was talking about renovation and COPPER.
Cannot understand.
Mr. Chairman, it seems to be an open mic someplace. I'm hearing
Yes.
a
There's a
background.
Yes, there's a background noise somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I see it. And we're live on YouTube.
Oh, okay, that's not good. All right, go ahead, Trustee Cohen.
Yeah, just a correction in spelling. It was page 7 of the minutes. About the middle of the page, the 4th bullet down, it was spelling copper wrong, like copper tubing was being replaced or something.
All right. Anything else?
Other than that, I'll move to accept the minutes as corrected.
And this is for the regular meeting of 12/17/2020.
Correct, yes.
Need a second?
Second,
Roll call,
Right.
please.
Trustee Bowery,
Yes.
trustee Cohen,
Yes,
trustee Dorsey,
Not voting.
trustee Liger,
yes.
trustee McDonald, absent, trustee Smith, absent, Chairman Calendar,
Yes.
4 yes, 1 not voting, 2 absent.
Those minutes have been approved. Need a
Point
motion
of,
to,
point of information.
yes, sir.
Chairman, I have a point of information.
Yes, sir.
I had some questions with the minutes, even though I wasn't here. So do I do that? Ask those questions at the end?
You can do it now. Mr. Dorsey, did you hear me?
No, I didn't hear you.
Yes, you may go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was asking for clarification for one on the chairman's report. It talked about misunderstanding with GRS members and the community regarding the 42% reduction in benefits that was supposed to go into effect January 1st, 2021. So is it that the Senate itself is going to make that ruling or the board? Just for clarification.
Trustee Dorsey, the board has no authority to make any changes in one's annuity.
Only in
Only
the annuity? The authority we do not have is only in changing the annuity, but we have the authority to do anything else with the system assets without going to the Senate?
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, we do.
Okay, okay. Then my next question was under it's a November 23rd meeting, and it talks about formulating an SOP for the staff. So has that been done?
Who wants to answer that?
There was discussion, it's in a draft form, sir.
Okay, and then
It has to do with disability applicants when, what's the process as far as disability applicants and physical
Okay.
exams.
Can you repeat it? You blanked out on my side.
It has to do with disability applicants. We required a physical, could have done a desk review by a physician. However, the board ruled that each disability applicant should have a physical exam, meaning that it should meet with a doctor physically to examine them.
Okay,
just add a side note on that. It was for a physician approved by the GERS.
yes, that was gonna be my next follow-up question. Thank you. Okay, so I read, I think I had a document prior to this one I just received yesterday. This was related to repairing the northern flat roof project. The northern flat roof project of the building, and it was some leakage and deterioration. So I was just curious if that was done and if those employees and the legal counsel section have any mold issues in that section from the leakage.
Trustee Dorsey, we will bring this up in my report, and any questions I would, feel that any question as far as subsequent, it can be dealt with at that time.
I'll say, so the questions under operation will come up in your report.
We will give a comprehensive report of the operations in my report. And you
Okay.
may have the same issue. However, the legal is not on there anymore. That place was cleaned up. There was some work done by the contractor. So those questions can be asked of Ms. Asia Clendenin when we get up into operations in my report.
Okay, give me 1 minute. So that would also cover the arrearage and the collection of rents for your particular building itself, as well as the Haven site?
The format of the report is basically the same every month. It contains probably the same thing. As far as Havenside Mall, the treasurer will deal with Havenside Mall numbers.
Okay, so part of the minutes, it talks about executive session. So I guess I'll have to wait to executive session to ask that particular question on page 11 at the top on the executive session. I do have a question about that. So I guess that's it for me for the moment. Thank you.
All right, need a motion to accept the minutes of the special meeting, 12/28/2020.
But we did that already.
We did the regular, it's now the special meeting.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Need a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes of the special meeting that was held on December 28th.
And I would second it.
Is that a second by Trustee Cohen?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Cohen?
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey?
Not voting.
Trustee Liger?
Yes,
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith? Absent. Chairman Calendar?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 not voting, 2 absent.
All right, thank you, sir. Minutes have been approved. As a stated communication, Mr. Nip said he had none. I received, on December 18th, I received a letter, and I will read it. Wilbur K. Calendar, MD, Chairman, Board of Trustees, Government Employees Retirement System. Dear Chairman Calendar, please accept this letter as a formal notice of my retirement from the Government Employees Retirement System of the Virgin Islands, GERS, effective June 30th, 2021. I would like to thank the board for the opportunity afforded me since October 29, 2007 to grow with the GERS, and the staff for collaborating with me as a team to overcome the many challenges since my first day on the job. I did the best I could. I have no regrets. I would be more than happy to make myself available during the transition process. If there are any special requirements that need to be fulfilled from my end to complete the process, then kindly let me know. Sincerely, Austin L. Nibs. Copies were sent to the board members, Ms. Aish, Ms. Clendenin, Ms. Sherwin Sasso, and Ms. Valerie Clark Daly, Chief Group Health Insurance. That was the only correspondence we had.
Point of information, Chair.
Yes, sir.
I did not get a copy of that document.
We can make it available to you.
My second question, has the board had any system in place for someone to replace Mr. Nib? Is there an understudy? I think I asked that question during the budget meeting. Is there an understudy for a transition for the key positions in the system itself so that we don't lose certain knowledge base?
No, we do not have technically an understudy program. We have a chain of command, and it was up to the board to replace the administrator. So that will come before the board, well, sometime after today.
Okay, I guess my question is, was there a 6 months, 8 months window that this position was going to be possibly open, that there were discussions early on with the board as to how we might look internally for someone to replace? Any discussions on replacement? Just cut and dry, when he's gone, we just find somebody, put out an RFP or search for a executive director? That was it?
Mr. Dawes, I'm sure that's not the way it's going to happen.
No, I was asking what you have done. It's not how it's going to happen. I was asking, did you put anything in place prior to you? If you knew something before you received the letter?
No, I
And
do
if
have
not,
no, I
Okay.
don't think anyone knew anything before we received the letter.
okay, so have there been discussions about putting things in place so that we just have a system in place going forward? Has there been any discussions?
There have been some informal discussion.
Okay, can I get a copy of those documents?
These were verbal discussion among certain board members. This is the first meeting we've had since we received that letter.
Okay, so prior to receiving the letter, there's been no formal discussions.
Why
It's
would
just-
there be? Why would it be? We expected Mr. Nips to remain forever.
Well, I guess my question to the chair, to Mr. Nibs, if there's a possibility that you could at least hold on until we could put something in place, because that's a very critical position in the system. And it just needs to be something more in place than just a search for someone to replace the seat, because we have so much on the line at this time. So we don't really have wiggle room.
Just to add a little addendum here, Mr. Nibbs just came out of surgery and attended the last meeting, somewhat compromised. So this is the first official notice that we've had of the situation. And I think if he feels that, he needs to leave, I don't think we can pressure him. That's just my opinion.
I agree to that as well. If that's the situation, then it is what it is. I agree to that. I'm 100% with that position.
May I add something? Almost a year ago, I wrote a letter to the board, indicated that I wanted to have a meeting with them and to discuss the same thing you guys are discussing. I received no response.
And that's my point, Chair. There's a document out there. I requested a copy of any documents related to this particular issue. Mr. Nibbs now put on the record that he requested to this board over a year ago, or approximately a year ago, that this scenario was coming up. So this is not something since he just sent this letter. So the record has to be corrected on that point.
Mr. Chair, this is Lear. Mr. Nibbs, and in your letter indicated that you're leaving in 2022?
2021. When Ms. Potter left, when Ms. Potter left in 2019. I wrote to the board indicating I was planning to leave in 2019. And then I thought possibly could be leaving in 2020. But about a year ago, I wrote a letter indicating that I'd like to meet with the board to discuss succession planning. And I didn't get a response.
So, Chair, I'd just like to know how soon I can get a copy of those 3 documents that Mr. Nibbs just indicated are available.
I guess you need to ask Mr. Nibbs for those documents since I don't remember seeing them.
Well, he just said he sent them to the board.
Mr. Dorsey, did you hear what I just said? I don't remember having seen those documents, okay? So, Mr. Nibbs, you'll be kind enough to send Mr. Dorsey whatever you sent the other board members?
So, Chair, just a point of information. Mr. Nibbs, was the legal counsel copied on these letters?
I wouldn't have copied the legal counsel on anything.
Okay,
that's
fine. That's fine.
I would look for the correspondence and I would give it to.
That's fine. That's fine. I was just asking a question. Are there any other board members who remember the correspondence? If the chair doesn't remember, does anybody else remember?
Mr. Dorsey, at this time I can't recall, but like Dr. Kalner said, Mr. Nibbs will submit whatever documents he has to you.
Okay, no one recalls. That's fine.
Any other questions, Mr. Dorsey?
Not on that issue.
All right.
I have other questions, but not on that issue.
All right. Okay, then we move to the chairperson's report. Again, good morning, everyone. Today is January 28, 2021. If there's anyone to whom I have not extended New Year's wishes, I am doing so now. Happy New Year. On January 21st, I sent a letter to former trustee Carol A. Colwood, thanking her for her years of service on this board. I am certain that she will be missed. This is the last meeting at which I will preside as chairperson. It has been 6 years that I have had the honor to do so, but that would not have been possible without the assistance and guidance of many individuals, some of whom have left the organization and others who continue to endure. First, I would like to thank the many retirees from the District of St. Thomas, St. John, who elected me on 2 occasions in spite of well-known competition. I am sorry that I could not have accomplished more. Then there are the trustees with whom I served for the past 10 years. Thank you for your support. Being a trustee on this board is no child's play. I would like to thank some individuals, even though some deserving individuals' name will be omitted, not intentionally, just that my capacity to remember important things is rapidly diminishing. Mrs. Evelyn Venner Potter, former CEO, Ms. Johnny Sternbull, Ms. Lorraine Gums Morton, Mr. Terrence Thomas, Mr. Rory Andrew. Mr. Andrews, thank you for keeping my tablets functioning. And Ms. Suran Sasso and Ms. Glendon Gums. Attorney Cathy Smith, Mr. Bruce Thomas, with whom I still communicate, Leo Festino and Gustavo, because Backer from Makito Investment Group, Leon Joyner and Alvin Frias, our Seagull Actuary Advisors, Ms. Nikaya Coley, the board's administrative assistant who has been working remotely long before the emergence of COVID-19 and who has efficiently provided to the trustees the documents and information required for the functioning of this board. And last, Attorney Pedro Williams, the board's counsel, who has always reminded me that one of his roles was to keep me out of trouble. For the most part, I believe that he did. Now, let me make some comments about the legislature and to some legislators. I will never forget February 20, 2020, the day certain members of the legislature attempted to discredit this board by questioning me regarding operational matters. That information, if needed, could have been obtained initially by requesting it from the administrator. They eventually did so. However, there has been no significant action taken by the body to improve the financial state of the GERS. So let me make some statements and give them some advice. Winning what appears to be a mere popularity contest that does not make one knowledgeable in all areas once one is sworn into office. Instead of requesting greater expertise of board members, you should set minimum educational requirements for one to be eligible to run for the legislature, and do not make the requirements low or average. Hire someone to teach the legislators basic grammar, such as subject-verb agreements, so that the students listening to your deliberations will not develop similar bad habits. Cancel all retirement benefits for legislators. In fact, it would be ideal to rescind the law that made the position of senator a full-time job. You should all receive a small stipend for the limited service you provide and seek full-time employment elsewhere. There is no profession called senator. Following the most recent swearing in of senators, several of them highlighted the fact that that was the fourth time that they had been elected to that office. They should all be ashamed because they have done very little to avert the rapid slide of the GIS toward insolvency. To specific senators, I hope that Senator Sorrow has found the time to read the Mercer report, which addresses the GIS's problem, instead of focusing on the fictitious Fidelity report. Senator Verley needs a class in humility. He really does not know everything. Being obstreperous is his MO. I wonder if Senator Verley knows how much $1.9 billion would be worth today, considering that the system has had an 8.8% annualized return since inception, or how much the $570 million lost in contribution from the 9 unfunded mandates, which occurred between 1983 and 2001, would be worth today. It was a sensible decision the board made by selling Carambola Beach Resort. Besides the fact that it was not profitable, the viral pandemic would have devastated us if we still had it as an asset. To Senator Norbert Francis, it is not respectful to tell a testifier, sorry man, it is just politics. It is for the public to see, after you've done everything in your power to embarrass that person. 2 other individuals from Synchro are no longer members of the legislature, therefore there is no need to mention their names. And to Mr. Erman Foy, stop trying to be important by your practice of disseminating inaccurate information. If you want to do something important, join with some of the members of the legislature and obtain some remedial training before pretending to be the spokesperson for the retiree group and inciting disharmony among those you claim that you represent. And again, thank all of you for giving me this opportunity to serve. End of my report. Administrator's report.
Good morning.
Morning.
A summary of my meetings, presentation, and appearances. On December 23rd, I met with Clear Channel, the vendor offering video at Retiree King Airport for the Haven-Site Mall Advertisement Marketing Program. On the 28th, I attended a special board meeting. On the 29th, I had a meeting to discuss Haven-Site Mall roof replacement issues. On December 30th, I met with Island Guide, another vendor out of St. John, to do some promotional marketing efforts for us for the Haven-Site Mall at the Red Hook Dock. On January 5th, I had a site visit to Red Hook Terminal. Again, marketing opportunities for the Havenside Mall. On the 8th, I met with the software provider Vitech. On the 11th, I met with Havenside Mall tenants in regards to roof replacement, a project that is ongoing as we speak. On January 12th, I attended a hearing as a witness in the matter of Curtis Griffin versus GERS. On January 14th, I met with Port of Sale Management. On January 15th, I attended a budget committee meeting. On the 21st, I met with SIU, the Union for the Supervisors, in regards to the RIF program. On the 22nd, I met with the Rank and File Union in the same matter. On the 25th, I was guest on Alaf on Sidonister's show. On the 27th, just yesterday, I had the deposition in the St. Thomas Eastern Clinic GRS matter. And on the 29th, we do have an oversight committee meeting, which is tomorrow at Havenside Mall, and then we will conduct a tour. As you can see in member service, as far as applications, we have a total of 149 still outstanding. We have received 7 for year 2021 thus far. In 2020, as you can see, the applications are down from, let's say, 2018, where we had 402. 2019, we had 315. And in 2020, we are down to 220. I'm assuming that this is because of we don't know. Some people are unsure where the government is going to go, so they're just holding out. Disability certificates. These are life certificates that are sent out twice a year to determine, for retiree members, to determine if they're still alive. This is a way of determining if the members are alive. And we sent out 231, and we have at least 33 that are still pending. Refunds. There were 135 cases. We have 37 pending. So far, we have, for the fiscal year, we have refunded 1.6 million. Of the 1.6 million, 1.5 million is for those members who are not vested, regular. Those are members who are not vested. So as you can see, members are still leaving. We have 89 cases that were completed. We have 33 of those still pending. As far as death benefits, from last year for the fiscal year 2020, we had 7. We paid out $389,291.86. We have 88 cases pending for a whole lot of reasons. Annuity payments, January 15 payroll, we had a count of 8,675 retired members. From October 2020 to January 15, we paid out $75,122,415.90. For the same period, we added 64 to the payroll. For the same period, we deleted from the payroll 88. Those are members who have passed on. The gross retiree payroll for pay date January 15 was $10.7 million. So as you can see, the monthly payroll is over $21 million a month. Our members' portfolio is decreasing. Presently, we have 2,580 units, personal loans. As far as mortgages, we have 89 units still pending. And as of December, the portfolio amount in total, $33.5 million. The personal loans, all of these loans should expire somewhere between 2024 and 2025. Obviously, the mortgage loans are have other expiration dates, some going into 2030. As far as operations, Synchro building fire inspection was scheduled. Had to be delayed because of availability of the vendor. In Synchro, the sprinkler system was tested this month, and everything is normal. We are going to be installing 4 additional external cameras. They were completed on December 14, 2020 for security reasons. There was a minor fire alarm issue in the Synchro office, and it was corrected by ADT. It was false alarm. We do have some landscaping that is supposed to be done. It was scheduled to be completed already. However, it was a setback, and hope to be completed by March 2021. Housekeeping and sanitation services, we did contract out last year some of the maintenance services because of a retirement or resignation of one of our employees. So it was better to contract out instead of hiring someone, knowing that we were going to be downsizing. And the maintenance staff will pick up where they left off. Appraisal in the building in Synchro. As you know, I requested an appraisal in anticipation of sale of the building in Synchro. And the appraiser from Puerto Rico did make a visit there on December 8, 2020. Moving on to the St. Thomas office building, on December 4th, the fire alarm project was inspected and certified acceptable. Again, in the St. Thomas office, the appraisal is being done. It was conducted on December 6, 2020 of the building. Some other major, we did have some malfunctioning of the 2 elevators. They're now back in operation. We had some duct cleaning of the air conditioner system. This was very much needed. That has been completed. As far as the flat roof repair, the work began on December 11, 2020. There were some challenges such as water penetration, as Trustee Dorsey had mentioned. And I think that has been corrected because legal is back in the space. It was cleaned and legal is back working in the area. We did have some issues with our generator as far as the switching. That has been rectified. In regards to our rental and electricity collections, in December, we collected $55,503.46. Total fiscal year to date, collected $104,526.92. Of that amount, $94,734.58 is the rental. We do have some significant arrearages. Rental, $155,531.32, and reimbursement for electric charges is $272,650.67. The tenants that are affected are shown in Exhibit A. There are any questions later on. Leases, I think everything is going pretty well. The only leases that have not been negotiated, but negotiations were, there were some negotiations. However, a meeting is pending to negotiate a 1-day lease for personnel, also for justice. And we did advise the Casino Commission that we are not going to be entering into any leases more than 1 year. They did receive and responded and acknowledged receipt of but however, we did suggest some language to the lease, and available date for meeting with them is pending. As we said, there were the appraisals for the two buildings were completed, and the documents that they asked for is shown as 1 through 8. I don't think I have to read those out, but those are what they requested. We did sign an MOU with the University of the Virgin Islands. Dr. Hall and myself executed that MOU for the strategic plan 2021 going out to 2024. Fema Insurance. We have been dealing with Fema and by Fema regularly. Ms. Clendenin has been tasked with that effort. They do meet twice a month. And I must say that we have been getting our reimbursements without any problems. The last reimbursement we received was for the Havenside Mall cameras. It was $419,000. Synchro retiree election. The Synchro retiree election started on January 8, 2021. Nomination packages are required to be returned on February 8, 2020. I am aware that a few individuals from Synchro did ask questions. I'm not sure Ms. Jandina would be able to answer how many packages have been picked up thus far. And Exhibit B, as far as our system, we have now migrated. We call it V3locity. We have migrated to the cloud platform, January 18, 2020. This is something that was in the making. It was discussed with the board, I think, the 2 board retreats ago. And it's something that was needed because after the hurricanes in 2020, we want to make sure that all our information is stored in the cloud and have backup for it, redundancy, so that we can work seamlessly as long as we have internet connection. That ends my report.
Dr. Callender, I have 2 questions to submit.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The first question is on the life certificates. What exactly triggers the need to send out a letter to see if they're still alive? I mean, what transactions?
Well, I'm going to tell you, these are individuals who receive checks who are international. And although we have methods in place to determine if a retiree has expired, it probably would be hard to determine because it have happened before if a member who's international dies. Now, if they do have insurance, the health insurance, we would probably find that out right away. Social Security, if they're international, it'd be very hard to, because we've had this before. So what happens is that every 6 months, we send out life certificates. It used to be one every year. We do it every 6 months, where we are trying to determine or confirming that this person is alive. They have to submit to a notary. It has to be signed out by a notary. Many of them use the embassy or their minister or an attorney, but we have to determine if they're still alive. If they don't respond in a timely manner, we do hold their checks. We don't send their checks out anymore. And if they are alive, they would contact us. And if we see that they're not responding, then we try to do some more due diligence to determine if that person is still alive.
Okay, thank you. One other question on a whole different subject. On the St. Croix properties where the present new GERS building is and the older little building that we're renting out that was old GERS office and also the casino, is that property one particular lot or has it been subdivided for each of the buildings?
From my understanding, from my knowledge, it's one lot.
Okay, all right. Has any thought been given because we were thinking of moving into the casino building. I think that we should consider, subdividing that property so that the properties themselves may become more attractive.
So it's up to the board. The board give me directions too. We thought about it, but and then too, we were planning to say, if the board said they wanted to relate to themselves of the assets. Remember in the board retreat, Trustee Cohen, we talked about the Synchro staff is it's a small staff. And with the RIF program, we don't know what is going to happen, if we're going to get any applications for the RIF program from Synchro. One of my recommendations was that maybe those employees can work from home, given the proper tools. They are working from home right now. And maybe we can bundle with an office in Synchro nearby to have a room or two where we can meet members if we need to. So that was one of the recommendations. If the board wants to subdivide, to hold on to casino commission, that's a decision the board would have. But my recommendation, as I see it right now, would be for those individuals to work from home electronically. We're doing it right now, and maybe try to see if we can bundle with an office to have a room or two for conference with members when we need to.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to bring out there.
I couldn't understand what you were saying. You were kind of garbled.
Okay. The only thing that I would like to point out is that the 3 buildings may be more easily sold if the properties that they sit on were attached to the building, and only the building. The
Okay.
single.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Something to be considered.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for the administrator?
Yeah, I have a few questions, Chair.
Go ahead.
Is there a resolution to sell the St. Croix property or any other assets, or the resolutions?
Trustee Barry, as I indicated to you before, the board voted.
That's Trustee Darcy.
Oh, I'm
Right.
sorry. I'm Darcy Barry, I'm kind of, okay. Trustee.
You make me feel good, Mr. Nibs.
Finish that sentence, Darcy Bowie, what?
No, I'm just saying, they end with Y, so I guess maybe that's how I got tripped up. But he does song sometimes.
You make me
does
feel
song.
good, Mr. Nibs.
So does Coley. Coley ends in a Y too.
Coley, that's true. But she's a female, so, okay.
So Barry, you appear to be sitting too close to Mr. Dorsey, that's why.
No,
he's not on the same beach with Kathy and I.
That's true. Trustee Dorsey, I think I mentioned this before. The board had a motion because of the impending solvency, to sell all assets. And all assets, how I interpret all assets, is everything that is standing as raw as real estate, and even desk, chairs, furniture, anything that can be sold to get money. That's how I interpret that. So all assets means buildings, properties, and Havenside Mall.
Did you say we had a resolution?
Excuse me?
Did you say the board had a resolution, you said?
There is the board have a resolution to that we should sell all properties, yes.
I was just requesting a copy of the resolution.
Okay.
Whenever you get a chance. That was one question. Okay, can I ask about the rents that's in arrears? Or do I have to wait to executive session?
No, you can, no.
Okay, so the rents that are in arrears, at least as it relates to the government agencies, which would be Department of Justice, This is Exhibit A, the Division of Personnel, and the Risk Care, the Job Corps. So I guess, I'm not sure if that's directly under the central government of the Virgin Islands. That might be a federal agency, but the two agencies that are under the government, I had really two questions. You mentioned that the rent is in arrears, but you also mentioned there's a reimbursement that has to be done for the electricity that I was trying to figure out how that works, that electricity.
The tenants don't have separate meters. What we do is we bill them based on square footage for the electrical use. We looked into separating meters, but it wasn't cost effective. It was cost prohibitive at the time. It was gonna cost a whole lot.
Yeah, okay, so one or two things. I know there was a bill passed. I'm not sure what that bill was, but I believe it was passed in the Senate in reference to agencies having money set aside during the budget process to pay WAPA, the WAPA bill, coming straight from finance. I'm sorry, from OMB through finance to the WAPA account. So I was wondering if a similar arrangement couldn't be made during the budget process for the allotment for the rent portion that would be coming to those two agencies to be extracted out and come directly to the GERS is something we probably should look at. And as far as the electrical, I think it's more practical that we break that out, that they have their own bill. And that way, if their lights go out, they'll figure it out.
If you want to spend $500,000, then okay.
That was what year?
I can't remember, Mr. Dorsey. I cannot remember, but I know that we looked into it. We are done. We're going into an insolvency situation now. I wouldn't recommend doing that at this time.
Well,
You're trying
I'll
to
say this, Mr. Nibbs. I've said before, so I'll say it again. I said it during the budget meetings. When I'm making my proposals, I'm not asking for a dime to come from the system. The system doesn't have the money. We understand that. I'm saying that we can get an allotment if we request it from the Senate for this particular item. I don't see this as an issue. I don't know if a request has been made. I hear the complaints. I've been listening to several meetings prior to coming here, and I hear the complaints, but I'm not here for that. I'm here to try to bring some solution. So I'm giving you a different direction to look at. That's just for the rents in arrear because it was done with the other agencies for WAPA.
Well,
right? And then this administration, hold on, Mr. Nibbs, this administration made a serious payment on the WAPA bill to bring it current as far as the government portion that was owed. So I'm saying now, I'm not sure why this was left out, but let's just say it was an oversight. That's all I have to say for that.
Nothing was left out, Trustee Dorsey. We do communicate with the OMB in regards to the rental, as far as the allotments. That's where we have sent bills to them for the Division of Personnel and for the Justice Department. So we know about that law. We knew about it, and we have been sending bills to the OMB. Now, as far as the electrical, like I say, we are the landlord. Are you telling me that and we are separate entity? You're telling me I should go to the legislature to get money to change my meter system and my air conditioning?
No, I'm saying that I'm saying this, Mr. Nibbs, right? When I say the Senate, I'm really saying who the sponsor is of the plan. I think we understand who that is. So yes, this board would have to go, not you, Mr. Nibbs, this board would have to go to the sponsor to take care of certain things that haven't obviously been taken care of. So no, I'm not asking the system. The sponsor would have to take care of that. But in order for the sponsor to do that, someone has to say, we need this done in black and white. Okay, the other thing I was gonna say, the building appraisals, are they completed?
I haven't received the report as yet, sir.
Okay. And the reason for the appraisal came from the resolution because you're looking to sell those assets. Is that correct?
Usually we used to have appraisals every 2 years, and then we went to the board and asked them to extend it to 5 years. However, it was at the administrator's discretion. And because now we're thinking, the board has said we need to sell our assets, we needed to know what the appraised values are.
Okay, and then the other item, Mr. Nibs. My understanding with the Department of Public Works for the resources that they do have are left at this time. Some of the assistance that you need for these two properties, at least the Haven site and the two buildings, the main building here and St. Croix properties, you could probably get some assistance through the Public Works. I don't know if the request has ever been made because it's clear in the VI code. It doesn't say just central government. It says all government buildings and property. It says they're responsible for that by law. That law has not changed. So I'm not sure if the request has been made either through the board or through yourself, but that is an actual law on the books as far as the different properties, the different issues. It would include semi-autonomous if you make the request. Again, Mr. Nibs, this would go through the plan sponsor. This would go through the plan sponsor. The plan sponsor is over the Department of Public Works. I believe the plan sponsor can make that happen if they want to, but I think they would have to be informed, again, something in writing to the plan sponsor, because when I look at duct cleaning, the elevators malfunction, repairs even to the roof, generator transfer switch, where I work in government, I've seen Public Works come and change our transfer switch, and we run 24/7, 365. They have come to deal with our water pump. They've renovated our whole building, actually, Department of Public Works. Yes, we are part of the central government, I understand, but I go back to the plan sponsor, which is the governor, right? So that could be done. It's just a recommendation. I just putting it out there. The other question I had, Mr. Nibs, what the personal loan, mortgage loans. I understand the system doesn't have the funding for the personal loan to continue that process, the mortgage loans, construction loans, refinance. I understand that. But have we gone to the sponsor to make a request for funds to look at putting something there just for that, where they would go to the Senate to extract that money to bring to the plan? Because that is a way of bringing money into the system and keeping our current personnel employed.
Mr. Dorsey, the government of the Virgin Islands owes us over $2 billion. We are more interested in getting ADEC to try to get this system forward. Okay? They're not going to give me any monies to fund a loan program. I don't think so. You're asking me to go and try to get money to fund a loan program. You're asking me to go to get monies to repair our buildings. Where are they going to get the monies from? Federal funds or general fund?
Well, I have some more questions when we get to the documents that covers the let me get the right title.
I'm just going to say I would think I'm more as the administrator trying to get the ADEC, the monies that they do to us.
I'm familiar with the
system, so that the retirees can be paid the benefits and the system can go on another 60 years. That's what I'm trying to get.
Mr. Nibs, I'm in 100% agreement with the ADEX. I have some questions in reference to the ADEX under the legal portion of this meeting when we get there, because I guess that's an executive session. But I definitely have some questions.
The ADEC can be discussed in this session. You don't have to be discussed at that time.
Yeah, but my questions is tied to that section. I guess I got to wait to speak about it. The only other thing I was going to mention, which the previous board member mentioned in reference to individuals where we might be sending money and we're not sure. Now you're saying they're international and we're not sure if they're still alive.
No, wait. We have a program in place every 6 months. It used to be 1 year where we determine if the retirees are alive. we have no indication that someone has died and we don't know about it. I just want to put that on the record.
So Mr. Nibbs, if someone
Because
is
if they
injured,
don't respond to us in a timely fashion, we hold their checks. They don't get paid.
oh, okay. Okay, I got you. I got you. Okay,
Okay?
yeah, that makes sense.
I don't want to put it out there that people are dead and we are still paying them. Because that's,
Well,
that's the impression of a lot of people out there. They keep asking me this question.
Well, Mr. Nibbs, it's actually a valid question.
Oh, yes, 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 it is.
I could just tell you, Mr. Nibbs, and the other board members, for years on the other board that I'm on, we've been paying for people who have expired in terms of health insurance. And this is before this administration. So it's not that it's something they're not going to ask, because the community knows, it's been testified to. I've testified to it on the Senate floor. So these are valid situations, Mr. Nibbs.
No,
And they'll blame it on the software sometime. I think that's all I had with that section. Thank you.
Thank you. This just happens to be the GERS, not GE something else.
Mr. Chair, this is Director Clendenin, Division of Personnel, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to put on the record, please, that we are working feverishly through the Property and Procurement Department so that we can pay what's in arrears for Division of Personnel. I don't believe we are more than a month or two behind in our rent. We've always been very good stewards of our money in paying the rent. So I wanted to put that on the record, but we do need to have a completed agreement or lease agreement so that we could continue to pay. So we are hoping to close that by next month so that we could issue you our payment. As to something else Mr. Nibbs talked about earlier in terms of space, I'm happy to lease you some space if you need on Synchro. Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Chair, I just had one quick question for Mr. Nibbs. When the payments are in arrear in the lease that was signed, is there a late charge?
There's interest, yes.
Okay. I just didn't see it in there.
Well, but I know the billing, it has interest included in the billing.
So, Mr. Nibbs, the Justice Department, I guess you spoke to them this month?
Well, I'll have Ms. Clendenin respond to you. Asia Clendenin Gums, she's the one that usually handles that directly. Ms. Gums?
The Justice Department?
Ms. Clendenin Gums will respond to you. Ms. Gums?
Good morning, trustees and everyone else on the call. Trustee Dorsey, the arrearage of the Department of Justice was brought to their attention every time we send their monthly bill. I've been in contact with Director O'Neill of OMB to see how we could structure the electrical, to your point about the direct pay to WAPA. She is in constant communication with us and finance to rectify that, to bring justice arrears current. But as Ms. Clendenin alluded to, we are negotiating right now with Property and Procurement a lease, because they would no longer pay rentals or electrical with a letter stating that they're on a month-to-month. They really want negotiated leases. And the Department of Justice lease has been expired for the GRS since 2008 and Personnel 2007 respectively. So within a month, we should have those leases finalized and they be able to bring all their arrearage current.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any?
Just a quick question on that, Ms. Clendenin. So you some of these arrearages, this is a question. I mean, it doesn't sound like it, but it's a question. Were incurred when leases were in place?
No, these, well, the arrearages for justice mostly represent this fiscal year. And property and procurement has made it clear under their leadership that they're no longer doing month-to-months and encouraging all government entities who are leasing spaces to get their leases current. What they've been doing is writing letters, kind of justification letters in order to get payment due, but they just want current. So all of this is in this fiscal year. The leases we're negotiating, the one-year leases as directed by the board, will be retroactive to October 1, 2020 to cover this fiscal year. So as soon as that's done, they'll be able to get all their rental and electrical arrearages up to date.
Okay, so just to be clear, the arrearages that showed up on the report, they're all, none of those were, pertain to periods of time when leases were in place.
Could you repeat the question again, Trustee Bory?
The arrearages that's on the report, is any of that, those arrearages, do any of those arrearages pertain to periods of time when proper leases were in place?
No.
Okay, all right.
We've been trying to negotiate with Department of Justice and personnel for years, even before my time. But we have picked up a lot of momentum recently and have committed to do this within the next month.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, this is Pedro. Mr.
Yes,
Minna, isn't it accurate that, I don't know how far back you can go, but has the Department of Justice and Personnel historically run arrearage on the rentals?
Yes, not since.
So in my mind, I'm saying, if I go back to 2005 and they're running an arrearage and then they pay, they don't pay, they pay. So it reflects the balance, but because they've historically run arrearage, I don't know how accurate it is to say that what's reflected in the report is only for this fiscal year. It's only
because I have the documentation and the billing. So what you see here is this fiscal year based on documentation. Thank you.
There was a long outstanding arrearages going back to those years, yes. And I think Division of Personnel was renting the law library. They didn't pay us for years. They didn't want to pay us, and they finally paid us. But I can agree with Miss Clendenin Gums. These arrearages that you've seen here for probably this fiscal year, because everything was cleared up. You can go back to some reports, some prior months reports, you could have seen there were hardly any arrearages. And then we did the deferment to those agencies. So there was no running long, there was some running long outstanding arrearages, those were cleared up.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Well, Mr. Nibs, I guess I brought that up because I just listened to the address by the governor, and in his presentation, he indicated that the different categories where we do our collections are up. And I'm looking for that big bump of that 8% to come into the system at some point. So if everything is up, then definitely the rent shouldn't be in arrears at this point. So that's the only thing that would apply to the current administration, because it was just mentioned that everything is up. So of course, you would mention that at this point. So we're on the same side, Mr. Nid. We're just trying to get the money in. I'm also looking at the different scenarios with how other agencies can assist. And I know Public Works is one of them by law, by the sponsor of the plan. So that's one.
I've never heard that. We can look into it, but I've never heard that.
I'll even try to find that law myself and forward it to you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm interested in that too. That's a new one for me. And as you guys know, I've been in government for a while.
Correct.
As OMH director, but I'll definitely like to see that law, Member Dorsey. But just to indicate to you that notwithstanding the governor's frequent claim that they are awash in cash. Never before in the history they've had so much cash available. The government is still fighting us on a $63 million award on the federal court. That and they're spending money, we're spending money in the courts of appeals for an award by Judge Gomez. And their argument at this point is not that they don't owe it. The argument is that they can't afford to pay. That's the argument they made in the court. And every time I hear this speech about how much cash and how much days cash they have, and and they've paid off everything. They've paid off the tax refunds. I was in a conference call with him a couple of months ago, I guess, when he made that comment, and I asked him, well, what about those $63 million? Why aren't you pay to us? And why are you having us pay lawyers and you're paying lawyers? Arguing, and again, the argument is not that they don't owe it. I mean, I think they've given up on that argument. The court has squashed that for a long time. The argument was they couldn't afford to pay it, and the judge gave them options. I think they had a 5 installments, Mr. Nibs, or 7.
It was about 5 or 6. Yes, 5 installments. Yeah.
The court said they need to pay. The court gave an installment plan. If you can't pay, no, you can't pay all of it. You pay some amount. I think it's five equal installments. And they're fighting that in Third Circuit. So I mean, we continue to get this mixed messaging about how much they're washing money, and we can't get ours. So just so you know.
Mr. Bori, I would just say this. That's the good thing about having the territorial address and having something in an actual document and indicating to the public that things are better. Things are even better. It appears to be even before the pandemic hit. I'm hoping that before we're done with this meeting, we can now go and use the same language that was used Monday night in the presentation, because I truly believe that 8% money should be coming to the GRS. I don't see it going any other place where I sit. That money should be coming here. So I think our presentation, 1, should be to the sponsor, and 2, should be to the Senate, who has to appropriate that money if it becomes available, as the governor indicated, because the governor can say where he would like to pay the money, but he doesn't determine where the money is spent. The Senate does that. So I think we as a board need to put something together that money needs to come to this system. Whatever it is, it needs to come here. It's just my opinion. So hopefully before the meeting is done, based on what you just said and what I'm saying now, that 8%, we need to go after that money, and that money needs to come to the GERS.
Dr. Callender, you're muted.
Yes, thank you. Okay, let's move on. Thank you all for your discussions. Excuse me. Committee reports.
The budget committee has a report, and I think I late last night, I don't know if you guys got it, I I tried to circulate the report, so I'll just read it quickly into the record. And it says that the budget committee convened via Zoom on January 25th, 2021, to review the fiscal 2021 operating budget for the Havenside Mall. Trustees Bowie, Callender, and Dorsey attended. The proposed budget was presented by Administrator Nibs, Acting COO Ken Denny Gums, and CFO Jeremiah. After in-depth review and having been satisfied by explanations and justifications provided by staff, the committee voted to recommend board approval of the FY 2021 operating budget for the mall as follows. Personal services and fringe benefits, 1,596,579. Supplies, 20,200. Other services and charges, 976,919. Utilities services, 88,436, for a total operating expense budget for 2021 of 2,682,134. Let me just pause. Did everybody get a copy of it? Just so you know. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm reading it right now.
Okay, so the personal services budget funds salaries and related fringe benefit for 22 filled positions, which were deemed necessary by the staff, by management, to provide basic maintenance and security for the mall. Notwithstanding the vastly reduced commercial activity, it's clearly critical that we do some basic upkeep, if for no other reason to retain its value. It also provides $90,500 for previously negotiated and approved one-time bonuses for 24 employees. This is not a base salary increase. This amount is based on the personnel roster submitted by staff, which is incorporated as an integral part of the recommended budget. 977,000 budgeted for other services, mainly comprise 629,000 for insurance, 269,000 for removal of transformers and raising of old structures, and 47,000 for advertising and promotion. Utilities budget funds electricity and water services, 38,400 for electricity and 50,000 for water services. And again, I said all these line items are further detailed in the FY 2021 revised proposed operation budget, which is submission by staff on January 18, 2021. The committee makes note that the $2.7 million operating expense budget will likely result in a $1.1 million operating loss in fiscal year 2021, based on estimated revenue of $1.6 million. This loss, combined with $2.6 million of internally funded capital budget, which has already been approved, will be funded from the mall's unrestricted cash of $5.1 million, thus reducing the balance to $1.5 million by the end of the fiscal year. And I sent, for information purposes, I sent a little worksheet that shows how I came to that number. So I just wanted to make the point that, as I've said before, that we need to make a serious decision about the mall. It's right now it's an underperforming asset of the authority of the agency, and keeping in mind that that unless we get some extension of the insolvency date, we're going to have to be looking at selling that asset along with all the other assets if we got into insolvency. And in my view, it's better for us to sell it earlier than to sell it when we're under the duress of an insolvency situation. So that concludes the report from the Budget Committee.
Chair, am I able to put in point of information here?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so during the budget committee hearing, we asked the administrator, Nibs, Mr. Nibs, to basically, if there were any reports, analysis done to figure out what would be a best use. That was a question that came up during our budget committee meeting. And at the time, the chair, Mr. Bori, indicated we should probably put in another 30,000 or so to do such a report to see best use. I think it was 3 items that were mentioned from the chair. And then I asked a question if such a report was already done. And Mr. Nibs indicated that a report was done. Alfred Gobar and Associates back in 2015 for $100,000. So that report supposedly back then was presented to the board at that time. Or I'm sorry, to WICO at that time, through the board, and nothing happened. So that sent 2 messages to myself. Basically, that was the wrong group in place, or the report just had no merits to it. But I just got the report, so I can't speak on it like I would like to, but I will go through it, I guess, for the next budget committee meeting that the chair indicated that we would have. That was one item. And then the second item I mentioned in the budget committee meeting, if members had done a walkthrough of the property, because I indicated in the meeting, I don't know where the property begins or where the jurisdiction or what it is we're talking about even to look to sell, in which I indicated in the meeting that the asset has a lot of potential and it's an underutilized asset right now. And even before the pandemic, it was an underutilized asset. So with that being said, I requested a copy of the plan, the as-built survey, if one existed, which I received, a copy of the report that was done, and an opportunity as a board to walk through. And as a result of that, that was set up for tomorrow morning. So I'm looking forward to the walkthrough so that we can have some more in-depth conversations about selling assets of the system without fully developing the assets. And as I said in the budget meeting, I felt like and I still feel that the GERS and the Port Authority are the most efficiently run operations in government. I don't know if this board over the years has even looked at the GRS management as someone to oversee the projects. And as I explained during the budget committee meeting, the document that was done by the Inspector General Van Beaverhouse indicated that the alternative investments basically need, if you didn't have the expertise in-house, you hire the expertise or you develop it from within. That's what that document was basically saying. So again, I'm saying, I hear you loud and clear, Chair Bori, but I just think we haven't exhausted all our remedies to try to fix our assets. And I know we have at least 7 assets that this organization may be looking to sell to meet those obligations. I'm well aware of those obligations, but I'm also well aware that we have an underutilized asset and we just need to look at that as well. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow, God willing, to do the walkthrough, because me personally, I don't know where the property starts and ends. And now that I have the floor plan, I have a better idea, but I'd like to physically see what's going on as well, or not going on. And then we do have some other things going on that we may not be in control of today, but maybe in the future, because WICO has been managing this property, and it's sometimes assets are managed in a way that they manage their property down so that the asset loses value. So now you get somebody who wants to come in and take it over, and all of a sudden it's a diamond in the rough sitting in front of you all the time. You know, so they got this report back in 2015 and it looks like nothing's really happened on that property. So I don't know if that's going to be a legal issue in the future. I don't know how it was presented to them. I don't know if it was part of their contract. I haven't seen the contract that we have with them or had with them. So I don't know what the legal side of it is, but if they purposely ran that asset down, then they have to be accountable for that too. And that is the part of the financial arm of the government under the PFA. So it's one government at the end of the day. That's all I had to say about that. Thanks again.
All right. Trustee Bory, are you making a motion to the board to accept?
Mr. Chairman, it's under regular session.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Any other committee reports? All right, hearing none, we will then move to the treasurer's report.
Good morning, Board Chair, other trustees. This is the Government Employees Retirement System Schedule of Receipts and Disbursements for the month ending December 31st, 2020. Receipts from collections, we have loan repayment, 1,216,787. Year-to-date, 3,895,780. Rent from tenants/utilities, 109,795. Year-to-date, 145,532. Employer retirement contributions, 6,212,774. Year-to-date, 21,010,223. Employee retirement contributions, 3,400,313. Year-to-date, 10,529,786. Parking facility, 815. Year-to-date, 2,645. We have miscellaneous, 228,001. Year-to-date, 557,890 for a total collection of 11,168,485. Year-to-date, 36,141,856. Disbursements, we have annuity payments, 21,994,376. Year-to-date, 66,145,946. Administrative expenses, 1,420,042. Year-to-date, 3,769,185. Personal loans, 22,220. Year-to-date, 96,403. Mortgage loans, 1,513. Year-to-date, 28,504. Retiree loans, 1,343. Year-to-date, 2,799. We have nothing for auto loans and land loans. We have refunds of contributions, 933,662. Year-to-date, 2,242,247. Total disbursements, 24,373,155. Year-to-date, 72,285,084 for a net cash deficit of 13,204,670. Year-to-date cash deficit of 36,143,229. We have Haven Site information. We have rents from receipts and collections. We have rent from tenants, 135,610. Year-to-date, 254,707. Miscellaneous, 419,995. Year-to-date, 428,120 for total collections of 555,605 year-to-date, 682,827. Then we have disbursements. We have your personal services, 78,835 year-to-date, 236,044. We have our fringe benefits, 30,588 year-to-date, 109,915 supplies. We have 9,895 year-to-date, 19,981. Other services, 5,363 year-to-date, 49,762. We have utilities, 2,708. Year-to-date, 3,998. We have capital project, 189,343. Year-to-date, 506,187. We have allotments to WICO, management fees. We don't have anything for that. So total disbursements of 316,733. Year-to-date, 925,888. We have a surplus, 238,872. Year-to-date, a deficit of 243,061. And that ends the treasurer's report. Board Chair.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. The 428,000 for miscellaneous receipts, what is that?
That's the FEMA money reimbursement.
Oh, okay. And just that's reimbursement for expenditures of what?
The cameras.
Oh, okay. So the actual expenditure that we incurred is down below someplace? It's in the 506? Is that what it is?
Trustee Barry, the actual expenditure was last year. That's when WICO, we were under WICO at the time. And we were paying it, the contract was done under WICO, and we were paying the monies under WICO.
Oh, okay.
All right. Jeremiah, that's it?
That's it, Board Chair.
Trustees, any questions for Mr. Jeremiah? Any additional questions? Hearing none, I need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So move.
Okay, and I will second it.
Trustee Barry,
Yes.
Trustee Cohen,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Not voting.
Trustee Liger. Trustee Liger,
Yes.
Thank
hear
you.
me, Mr. Davis?
Trustee, yes, sir.
Okay.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Calendar.
Yes.
So Chair, 5 yes, 1 not voting, 1 absent.
Thank you, sir. Treasurer's report has been accepted. We next have the investment officer's report presented by Mr. Gustavo Becker. I thought Leo would be here. Today is his birthday, right?
Today his birthday, Mr. Chair. You're right. So he's enjoying a little more of bedtime on California.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having us. So first of all, let me say belated Happy New Year to everyone, because it's the first time that we're seeing in this 2021. What you hopefully have in front of you on your computers is a report that we prepared, which it is the complete calendar year of 2020 with the results, which in fact this includes the last 3 quarters of your fiscal year that ended on September 30th. But most importantly, it includes the last quarter of calendar year 2020, which is your first quarter of the fiscal year, which was positive news for the system. So what I'm going to share with you is a couple of slides on the topic of macro and what happened during 2020. And then we spend a few minutes on the results for the 4th quarter. And then we will open up for any questions. But if at any moment of the report, of course, you have anything that you would like me to expand or questions, please feel free to interrupt me. So I will ask you to please move into page 4 of 52 of our report. Basically, what you have in front of you is a chart that we've been seeing since March, pretty much, of last year, which are the cases around the world. And this more than reflect a reflection of the actual number of cases is a reflection of what has been pretty much going on with the volatility of the markets. You know, the more the cases spike, the more volatility we see in the market, which means the more support it comes from the Fed and the different reserve and federal banks around the world, which puts liquidity into the market, which in general makes the stock market positive. So this has continued to be the major driver of volatility in the market since the start of the pandemic. And it's difficult to predict any type of stability before, you know, having a final solution to this pandemic, which probably that is translated in a massive vaccination of the whole world. I will ask you to please move one more page to page 5 of 52. This is astonishing. I mean, if I don't think that any of us would have the courage of predicting the performance of the market for 2020 back in March or April of 2020. As you see there in the 1 year, which represents the whole 2020, you have, you know, the S&P up 18%, emerging markets 18%, China in particular 29%, and same way on the bonds. You have the Barclays aggregate 7, which it's a composition of all the different bond subsectors. It's 7.5, TIPS 11%, 10-year treasuries 10, and 30-year treasuries at 18.7%. Most of these, even though we have the pandemic, as we discussed during the year, most of this has been actually supported by all the different fiscal and monetary policies around the world. And that's the reason why we're seeing all this positive momentum in the market. December was a little more volatile, given, you know, post-elections fears, the end of the year. But even though with all those ups and downs, it ended up in a positive momentum for all the equities, with the exception of some of the fixed income assets. I will ask you to move one more page to page 6, which we've seen this chart before. This is the S&P 500 index historically, and where we are as of 12/31. the key risk again moving forward is a spike on COVID. It's vaccine distribution, vaccine deployment, and most importantly, getting the vaccine into people's arms. That is pretty much, and will continue in the short term to be the major factor moving the markets. The positive momentum seems that has halted out a little bit during the first days of January, but then it just continue moving forward. So we see this momentum continue. Is it the big question that you probably heard from market analysts and economists is this momentum really substantiated or is inflated? Are we in a bubble? Honestly, we are in a moment that is difficult to assess. You can argue both ways, but definitely what it seems to be is some type of a disconnection between the real economy and what's going on in the markets, and most of the experts kind of agree that this disconnection is triggered in its majority by the fact of the liquidity that is being the flow of liquidity in the market that has been inflicted by the monetary and fiscal policies on the Federal Reserve in particular, and on central banks around the world. I will ask you to please move to page 9, and this continues to be something that we're talking for a while. This is extremely interesting. On the right-hand side, that you have that chart with the different colors. So the pink line represents the S&P technology sectors. These are only the technology stocks. They were up 42% in 2020. The green line, it represents the S&P 500 without, so taking the technology sectors out, which grew, interestingly, 8% compared to the 42. And the blue line is, in fact, the S&P 500, including all the different sectors, which actually grew 16%. I mean, this shows the impact that the technology stocks had during the 2020 calendar year in the whole market. You have some examples there on the slide. You have Amazon was up 76%, Netflix up 67%, Apple up 81%, mostly triggered with the speculation and actually some reality of working from home and shopping from home and all the good stuff that we heard during 2020 about what has been the biggest triggers for these stocks. So that did not change, and that doesn't seem to be changing so far in 2021. That trends, there are some days in which there are speculation that the vaccine rollout will be accelerated and people will be going back to normal life sooner than anticipated, and that make value stocks moving up compared to growth stocks. Then other days like yesterday, in which seems like the vaccine rollout is actually delayed, and then the growth stocks went up. So we'll continue to see this volatility and moving, but it's all being triggered by what is actually happening with the pandemic. Let me see. Lisa, I will ask you to move to page 11, which we've seen a similar version of this before, which was the stimulus that was put in place at the beginning of the year. This is actually a representation of the one that was the second wave of stimulus of the 900, pretty much in line with what was done before. And of course, as we all know, there's the new administration that is actually moving towards a 1.9 trillion stimulus. We don't know yet how much, if the totality of it is a part of it at all, is going to be approved and when. But, you know, conversations on that are also the ones that are supporting the run in the stock market.
I have a question, Gustavo.
Please.
Clarification, actually. So the 1.9 million is in addition to the 0.9 earlier, or is it 1 million plus the 0.9 to give you?
No, it's in addition. The 900 billion that we saw was the one that was approved by the prior administration.
Yeah, back in December.
Yes.
The 1.9 is in addition to that. So
in addition.
We're talking 2.8. We're talking 2.8.
Yeah. That's
okay.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Now, it's still to be seen if that 1.9 is going to be 1.9, 1.7, 1.2. But that's the intent. And the areas are similar to what you see here in terms of the impact. However, there are a couple of other additions to it in terms of climate change and all that are part of the 1.9 as well. So I will ask you to move a couple of pages forward to page 15, please. We've seen this page before, and this is pretty critical for the system. This is the yield curve, and the reason that I'm saying that is because around 80% of the plan is actually invested in bonds or cash. So the major driver at this point of the performance for the system, it is in fact the performance of the fixed income portfolio. And it's definitely triggered by the yield curves. 2020 has been, we've seen flattening of the curve. You know, it's the blue-green that move all the way down in all the different durations of the curve compared to what it was in 2019. Reasons why, of course, the pandemic and the influence of the Fed. Chairman Powell spoke yesterday, clarifying to the markets that status quo, short to midterm, no change into this curve, which is the major driver of fixed income assets. There has been since the last couple of weeks a little bit of what is called steepening of the longer duration of the part that is to the right hand side. It has gone a little bit up, but not moving much the prices of the fixed income assets. The expectations are that there will be not much movement on this curve. This is pretty much being influenced by in the short part of the curve, which is the 1 to 3 year, is definitely 100% correlated to whatever the Fed is saying. The 10 to 30 year is actually more in line with the investors' expectations. On the shorter part of the curve, the Fed has continued to say that status quo, and this is not going to move or to actually to the curve to steepen by any means. On the long part of the curve, that has been moving a little bit based on expectations of investors in terms of how much growth, how little growth, how much the pandemic, how less. So pretty much based on speculation. So we're not expecting much change indeed from the current inflationary status in the short term.
So when you say stiffening, you're saying from the curve, we'll see that as a flattening of the curve? Is that how we'll see the stiffening?
So steepening, you see that in the right hand side that it's moving up, and this is yield. So this is a combination of the price plus the coupons, right? So when it means that the yields are steepening at the end, it means that that investors are expecting a little more from the coupon side, which is moving up, which means that the prices are going up. When yields are up, the prices are going up. So the more the curve steepens, the more the prices of the bonds are going down. In fact, if you're a long-term holder of the bonds, and if you can hold it to the end of the 30-year period, having a steeper call means good news, because you're actually collecting bigger coupons, bigger yielding coupons in each of the different payments during there. But the regular bond holder has a portfolio of bonds that actually are affected by the daily prices. So
I was trying to read the graph, and I hadn't heard the term stiffening before, so I was just trying to figure out.
Yeah. So when they talk about curve flattening, it means that the end of the curve is actually flattening out. Right. And when they say that you have an inverse curve, is that sometimes the shorter part of the curve is actually higher than the longer part of the curve. So
I understand
this means growth, right? In the long term, you have more growth expectations than in the short term. If it is the other round, it means that you see a lot of risk in the long term, so you're better off with holding bonds to the short term. At this point, because the Fed is saying this part is going to, for the next, between the 2 and the 5 year, I'm not going to move it. I'm going to hold it by injecting money. So there's an expectation that this is going to make the economy improve in the short and to medium term, which the long term should be, in fact, by correlation, better. So that's the whole year. So that's what I meant. The short term is predicted by what the Fed is doing. The long term is investor expectation. That's why it moves a lot more.
Okay.
At this point, this is it. I mean, this is what the investors are seeing. Flat growth expectations in the short term and a better prospect in the longer term. I will ask you, this was page 15. We jump up to page 20, please. 20 out of 52. You know, we heard they just came out with the today's Thursday, right? Unemployment numbers. They came a little bit lower than expected. You see here, all the way to the right-hand side is where we were at 12/31 in 6.7. It's around there, still around there, 6.7, 6.9 unemployment rate, which, in fact, I think that the whole point is that, you know, we came a long way from where we were back in March. However, we still have, you know, the experts are saying anyway between 7 and 10% of the population is unemployed, which actually this represents that we still have a long way to go in terms of trying to get the economy moving to a point that we can only just substantiate the jobs that we have today by creating all these jobs that are needed. So we're still a long way to go. And I believe I will leave it up to there for the macro views. 2021, so far, again, the name of the game is the volatility that is at this point 100% correlated with the pandemic and what the different governments of the world are doing to fight the pandemic. We're not seeing much change. It will definitely be any good news in terms of deployment of the vaccine would mean that the markets will be going up. Bad news in the deployment will mean the markets are going down. This is so far what we're seeing today. I think that political fears of elections and all that, they are part of the past, regardless of what they are doing now. If the Senate this, Senate that, the markets are not that focused on that specific aspect so far. They just, the aspect that they are looking into is that if the 1.9 trillion stimulus will be 1.9, 1.7, 1.6, or 1. But then that's in general what 2021 it's looking so far. Again, in terms of interest rate and interest rate fears, we as a firm do believe that there is the interest rate environment that we're in, that is lower rates, will continue to be in the short term, even if there is an interest rate or an expectation of an interest rate increase. At the most, we will go back to historical levels, which historical level based on the last decade, which has been low, and we are far away from there. So, and that is one of the biggest influencers of the market in general and of expected returns of pension plans. So we are not seeing much expecting movements in 2021.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
And morning. Just a question in reference to the, as you just indicated, the deployment of the vaccine and the effects on the market. Where do you see this administration projections going, as it's going to affect the plan, the funding, the markets overall? How do you see that being in effect with this new treasury?
So the markets have shown, and we agree with it, that there are a lot of expectations on the positive side on the programs that the administration has been talking about.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I want to get more pointed. I want to really focus on what the president, the president-elect has been saying, and what your company has been looking at. What did you guys come up with in terms of what you hear and the strategies, the models that they've been putting out? I just really want to know what you've been really focused on with that.
So what the Biden administration has been saying is that there will be an increase in deployment of vaccines, which will be good news. With that is reflected on the markets. It has been saying that it will continue the stimulus on the market, which is good news for the growth of the economy overall, which is reflected in the markets as well. It has said that in the near future, it will be pushing for investment in infrastructure in general, going from green infrastructure to regular infrastructure, which, if that is the case, that will be really good news in general for a big part of the market. There are trillions of dollars sitting on private infrastructure managers that they have been waiting for a long while on the United States to being able to start moving towards investing in infrastructure. There are, Mr. Dorsey, a lot of questions in terms of how that is going to be deployed, when, there are different type of strategies, public, private combination, how that will work. So in general, from what we are hearing, seems to be good news in the long term. Not much affecting the short term. The short term, Mr. Dorsey, is much more affected on whatever the actual execution of deployment of vaccines and everything pandemic related, more than future economic trends, to be quite honest with you. So we've been focusing on that, and The biggest driver also of pension plan returns and in general, the market returns is the interest rate environment. And as I mentioned before, it seems that we will continue to be this way, very low rate environment, which it will be difficult for the asset classes actually to really perform in an environment like this, or a portfolio, I would say, to perform with such low rate environments. So basically, that's what we're seeing so far, Mr. Dorsey. Nothing more.
I may have some more questions. I just got your document. I'm going through it still, so I'm not sure how that works to find out. Chair, do we have the advisor representative for the board here today in the meeting?
So Dorsey, do we have who?
The advisor. There's supposed to be an advisor to the board, right? Is it to the board or to the system? The advisor for the plan, does that individual work for the board or the system?
We mean advisor, you mean the consultants?
Not the consultant, the individual employed with the government who's supposed to be the economic or the investment advisor?
No, I don't think we have such a person.
So is it Mr. Hendrickson or Mr.
Hendrickson?
I think
Henderson.
Maybe talking about Mr. Henderson.
Investment manager?
He mean Mr. Henderson.
Mr. Henderson?
Investment officer.
He's the investment officer?
That's correct.
Is he in part of the meeting today?
I think he's out ill.
Oh, does he have an assistant?
Mr. Nibs have to answer that, Mr. Dorsey.
Mr. Dorsey, we had an investment officer. The office was staffed with 2 individuals. Because of the dwindling assets of the system, obviously we're now into bonds. The investment officer left to pursue other employment. So we determined that we would stick with an investment analyst. As Trustee Smith said, the analyst is out today.
I got you. Okay. All right. So I could follow up, I guess, with the individual.
Will be if there's any way that from my position can help you out, Mr. Dorsey, happy to do it. Perhaps if we continue a little bit with the report, we might answer some of your questions. I really hope so. So with that, I will ask you, please, if you can move to page 26. In fact, yeah, page 26. Basically, this is the status that is no surprise where we are. These are what we call the assets, the liquid assets, the assets that Mekita Investment Group has been advising the system for. There's a number of other local assets that we don't report on, and we don't have any views on it. The
point of information, what are the local assets that you say you don't have anything to do with?
Local assets are composed by the loans that the system do to the beneficiaries, the assets. You have to help me here, Mr. English, because I don't know the exact names of the local assets.
Maybe I can help you, Gustavo. For example, Havenside Mall. They don't report on any of our local assets. Havenside Mall, Carambola, which we sold, VI Finance, Seaborn, those were considered local alternative assets. They did not have responsibility for those. Those assets were tracked by our in-house investment team. You understand?
I guess my question is, we're paying this organization.
Sir.
Hello?
Let him answer this question, Mr. Nib. Let him answer this question. What's your question?
My question is, I understand we got different categories of assets, but if they can offer some expertise to help us enhance even our local assets, I think they should be part of that. We're already paying for a service. And they see the predicament we're in. It has to be, I'm not saying it hasn't happened, maybe it has happened, but it would have been nice to have a little bit of communication even on some of the local assets. There may be someone within this conglomerate of a corporation that could give us some direction, understanding where we're at as a plan, as a retirement system. That's all my point was.
Mr. Nibbs, you free
I
to
was just
answer
going to
that?
tell him their responsibility is not direct. They do have, we do have alternative asset with them and a private equity. One of the asset that they look at is private equity. And that is totally different from these carambola. So they will not sign on to that. I'm not sure if they have anyone in-house that look at those type of things. But I know we do have alternative investment. The only alternative investment we have with them is private equity. So I don't know if Gustavo could answer that, but we dealt with our local assets internally, and we do have consultants who we had hired to give us information about our local assets, financial consultants. Every time that we looked at a local assets, we went through a due diligence process. So I don't know if Gustavo, if you can answer him and say, well, I have expertise in-house to look at carambola, but we don't have carambola to look at Havenside Mall. I'm not sure.
Sure, I can perhaps bring some light to the conversation. The scope of our services never involve the local assets, and the reason why is because we don't have expertise on those particular assets. These are individual assets. Our expertise is in an asset class, in manager selection of that particular asset class, and recommendations for asset allocation. We don't, and in general, firms like ours don't have an expertise on a particular asset as the ones that we mentioned before. So that's the reason why they never been part of our scope of work.
Gustavo, let me ask you a question. Does your firm manage alternative investments for oh my God, for CalPERS? And you're involved in any way with CalPERS, with alternative investments?
I'm not exactly sure. So
Okay.
Let me answer the question. So I'm not part of that account. I always confuse if CalPERS or CalSTRS. In one of those, we help them with the alternative investments. By alternative investments, exactly what I was referring before. It's not a particular asset located in one place, but it is in a project work for infrastructure deployment or manager selection on alternative assets, but not advising on a particular asset.
Okay, got you.
It's not outside of what you see from the firms of like ours around the world. At the level of assets that we are today, I think that we are number 5 or 6 in the United States and 8 in the world, and we all work in the same environment in which our expertise is asset allocation, manager selection, and recommendation. Some special projects, but never focusing on a specific asset, on a specific, asset. What I mean in like your local assets, like a hotel or like Havenside, like a mall. We don't do that. It's not part of our expertise.
So I guess my follow-up question, Chair, you've been coming and sitting in the meetings and listening to the issues with the plan, watching the flow of our funds over, I'm not sure how long your contract has been with the plan. If it's been over 10 years, then you've been here a while. If you've been here 5 years, then you've been here a while. My question is, you have colleagues that have you made recommendations to the board as to someone who could possibly shed some light on the alternatives of what we've been trying to do and what we're currently doing? Because you've been listening, you know what our problem is, you know what our situation is. You're in-house, you're not outside looking in. And most of our issues are pretty public. So have you made any recommendations to the board or to the administrator to help in those areas, even though you're saying you don't have it in your company?
Gustavo, I don't venture to answer the question. I think he's made it perfectly clear that that's not part of his firm's expertise in managing alternative investments. I don't think he needs to be put in the spot of having tried to answer a question like that. No, they handled our equities and our bonds, and they have done an excellent job for us. I don't think they can offer us any more advice than they have given us in the time they've been here. Now, they manage what we have now in our portfolio is about $440 million. Gustavo, what is the amount of money that your firm presently have the assets you have under management? Do you have any idea, approximately?
Yes, Mr. Chair, happy to share that with you. And by the way, there were moments in the past in which we were asked by the system if we could make any recommendation on some other firms with expertise, and we try to help as much as possible. Some of them, that's all what we were able to help at. But our firm, it's advising at this point at around $2.5 trillion. Advising, not managing, advising.
So I guess my follow-up question, the chair just indicated that I put you on the spot as an advisor to the plan. So if you felt like I put you on the spot, I apologize for that. But my question still is, let me just ask this. Did I put you on the spot to answer a simple, straightforward question? I just asking so I'll know in the future not to ask that question.
Without trying to get involved in any type of circumstance other than investment advice, we've been asked if we could help outside our scope of service to recommend some firms that would be of expertise on valuating assets for the island during the course of our relationship with the system. And we did, and we presented some firms that I remember at some point we had discussions with a private equity firm like Hamilton Lane that was actually trying to help on valuating some of the local assets, and that did not work out because they did not have clear expertise on the market. So they were like difficult for them to evaluate our comparables, and that's as much as I know because it's outside of the scope of work. We tried to recommend other real estate managers for the system to have the ability to actually evaluate some of the real estate assets in the island. So we share names, and so, but that's as much as we have been able to help outside our scope of work, just definitely because we value the relationship with the system.
Well, I really appreciate that answer. I'm not sure why the chair felt like I was attacking you for that answer you just gave. To me, it was straightforward, but that's how I felt like. He's telling you not to answer such a straightforward question. And in your answer, you just said multiple times that you have offered to help the system, and that's all I was asking. That's it. Wow. We got to do better than this, board. I'm just asking simple questions. I was put on to try to figure this out. I'm trying to bring some fresh ideas. I'm just here trying to help and work with the board. That's it. I'm not making it personal.
Any other questions?
I may have other questions when we get more into the document.
All right. Go ahead, Gustavo, please.
All right, sure. I will ask you then if you can please move to page 28 of 52. So this is the summary of the performance of the system. So for the 1 year column, which represents 2020, which is no more than, I would say, for illustrative purposes, because what we really care is the fiscal year. But for the 1 year, the system actually returned 8.2% net, which is what really matters to us. That is the quarterly performance for the first quarter of the fiscal year and fourth quarter of 2020. The system returned.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes, sorry, Mrs.
Yeah, I just have a question to the chair. Sorry about your presentation. Chair, am I able to ask questions, or is there certain questions you don't want me to ask of this advisor? I really feel uncomfortable right now. To the chair.
You're sitting on something that's disturbing you?
I'm saying to you, Chair, I asked a simple question a few minutes ago. The gentleman finally answered a question.
Questions.
Right? So you're telling me
That's
he don't
never
need to
happened.
answer a question? I have other questions in this document. I just told you I just got the document. I'm going through like you're going through. Maybe you had it before me. I don't know.
Mr. Dorsey, let's move on. Let's just, you can ask questions when the time is appropriate.
I'm saying to you, Chair, you came at me like I said something wrong. So you have me feeling uncomfortable. So I want to know what that's about. I don't know you like that.
So Dorsey, get comfortable, okay? There's no reason to be uncomfortable. Gustavo, go ahead, please.
All right, so I was saying for the first quarter of the fiscal year, as you see there in quarter to date column or fiscal year to date column, the retirement system reported a 2.8% net of fees performance. We continue to have, thankfully, a good calendar year. We also had a good quarter to date of 2.8%. Of course, as you see there, the equities markets represented 13.7% of absolute performance, and the fixed income 0.9 of around 1%. The next page, actually page 29, now we have it in one page, all the different assets and managers that are actually part of the plan. So as you see there, we have around 14% in equities that return 13.7% for the quarter. We have around 81% in fixed income that is composed by one active manager that we still have, PU Asset Management, and then two index funds, TIPS and BlackRock US Debt, which in fact overall had a quarterly performance of 0.9. There is no performance that we can show for Mesirow, because being a private equity firm, they report actually on a quarter delay, so we have no performance to show here. But overall a good quarter, I would say 2.8% for the system, being 80% in equities at this point. I think that page 30 also is a nice summary of the calendar, this is not fiscal, this is calendar year performance during since 2011, we started our relationship in 2012. So it has been overall a good sustained performance. Next page is the same as a fiscal year, which just for reminders, 2020 was 7.3%, 5.2 in 2019, 7.1 in 2017, and it goes so on. To give you again the same data point that we were sharing for quite some time now, since inception, the plan return, I believe, to give the exact number, it was 8.9%. Yes, 8.9% since inception. So it's year after year since inception has been 8.9%, definitely above the actuarial rate of return. So again, not a very positive reminder is that we have $443 million in liquid assets. We are actually net cash flows of around $100 to $150 million a year. So that means it's just do the math. In around 3 more years at this rate, regardless of the performance of the plan, we will be running out of money or close to running out of money. A 20% return on the plan would mean roughly $80 million, which still we will not covering the net outflows of the plan. And a 20% return over the sustained next couple of years, it will be an impossible promise to sustain. So again, good news in terms of how the portfolio has been performing, given the asset allocation and the level of risk, or I would say the subdued level of risk that we are taking, given the liquidity concerns. But unfortunately, with this alone, we will not solve the liquidity issues for the plan. And with that, Mr. Chair, those are all the remarks that I have prepared for today.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, trustees? Any additional questions?
I have one. Given all that you've said to us, Gustavo, and your presentation, what is one overall or overriding message that sends to us in terms of our investment strategies? Is there anything that we ought to do? Is there anything about our investment strategy that you need to be tweaked, need to change? Any advice?
So, sure. Thanks for the question, Mr. Barney. We every end of fiscal year, we prepare projections of liquidity, because the key and most important aspect right now is having access to the liquidity to be able to pay the benefits every year. So every time that it finishes a fiscal year on September 30th, it's a couple of weeks, a month after that, we prepare, as we shown you the meeting before, we prepare the projections of cash flows in and out. And with that, we took the asset allocation to make sure that we are invested in assets that are liquid enough that we can sell it and in 24 hours have the money to pay the necessary expenses. So we've been focusing on that for a while. And we did that in October, and we presented that to you. There were no major changes in inflows or outflows that should be modifying that projection so far. So there's nothing that we should be changing in terms of strategy. the strategy, given that we are probably 3 or 3.5 years away from running out of money, unfortunately, continues, and the prudent thing to do, it continues to be focusing on liquidity 100%. Anything else, it's, we can, of course, try to maximize as much as we can with the prudent risk given the liquidity concerns. Performance, as it has been lucky. We have been lucky with performance, but no changes to the overall strategy at this point.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'd like to know how long this company has actually been contracted with the board, with the government, doing this service. How many years you've been with the board?
Yes, since 2012, sir.
2012. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Anything else? Okay. Gustavo, thank you. Thank you very, very much for your presentation. Okay.
Now, thank you all. I will disconnect and hope to see you soon. And be safe, because the big monster is still out there and it's still making people sick. So thank you so much.
And if you speak to Leo before I do, wish him happy birthday for me.
I will. I will definitely will for all of you, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, regular session. New business, selection of new officers.
Okay, are we taking nominations at this time?
I think we can, yes.
All right, I'd like to put forth a nomination for Trustee Nellen Berry for Chairman of the GERS Board.
Second.
All right, any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Was that Cohen and Smith? Second?
Yes.
Trustee Bowery?
Yes.
Trustee Cohen?
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey?
Yeah, you're mute. You're mute.
Trustee Dorsey?
Not voting.
Thank you. Trustee Liger?
Yes.
Trustee McDonald? Absent. Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Calendar?
Yes.
5 yes, 1 not voting, 1 absent.
Motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
Where
you.
are you? Okay.
Mr. Barry, congratulations.
I don't have the gavel. The gavel was left in St. Croix.
Anybody wishing me commiseration?
No.
Yes,
What's
I'm
that?
doing that.
You have my sympathy, Mr. Bowery.
No, there's no sympathy. There's no sympathy. There's just that we want you to do as well as the former chair.
At least some praise work, some praise work.
And then normally the new chair usually take everybody to lunch.
I have to do that virtually.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. We could eat and send him the bill.
Okay.
Yep. That's
a good idea. That's good. Mr. Barbie, you're in charge.
As of now?
You're the
No,
chairman,
I think
sir.
up to the next meeting. I think after the next.
Mr. Liger,
Mr. Pedro, isn't it until, I don't think, open for next meeting?
March
Yes.
meeting.
No, normally,
The next meeting, yes.
normally it would be the next meeting, Dr. Calendar.
why?
Because
For the trustees of.
Because that's how it is.
Because the trustees are saying so?
Yes.
I don't want to be a lame duck anything.
Uh,
All right, so I'm stuck. Okay. So we
Attorney
have,
Williams, do we need to elect a vice chair?
We should.
okay.
I thought that's
no,
what
it's
you
not
was
whether
gonna
we
do
should or
next.
not. Is there a law that says we have to?
No, it's a lot. I would say we have to.
You wanna have a vice chair just in case.
Is there nomination for vice chair?
We'll let everything fall on Mr. Barry's shoulder.
Don't we have, doesn't the system have official officers? I mean, and they're designated officers of the GERS?
What do you mean the
The
system?
officers for the board are chairman and a vice chairman, and the administrator serves as the secretary, and that's a statutory provision. So you elect two officers, a chairperson and a vice chairperson, pursuant to your bylaws.
Okay, so we need to have a vice chair.
Any nominations?
Now you can always nominate next month.
Excuse me?
You can always nominate next month if nobody wants to nominate anybody.
We need a nomination.
And we can wait until the next two persons are on board anyhow.
What's the process? I mean, the term of office is that 2 years? I understand.
It's a 2-year term, and the bylaws provide for elections to take place the first meeting in January, except in the situation where somebody was filling the position and became vacant, and you have to have a special election.
Attorney William, you've let us. We hear you all the time, and you usually lead us correctly. But we haven't heard any nominations, so we can't. What do we do? So give us some alternative now.
Well, if you don't have any nominees, then you can't have an election.
Right.
I'm not sure why that would be the case, but maybe Mr. Boyd may need to have to lean on somebody to take the job.
I don't see no problem in it right now. I mean, we could always pick the vice chair next month. It's no rush now if nobody wants to be vice chair. So I don't see what is a hold up. Mr. Bory could go ahead and conduct the meeting as such.
I'll nominate
as chair.
Mr. Cohen.
Nominate who?
Mr. Cohen.
Dr. Cohen is resigning. He has resigned.
Oh.
I don't think we need to take an hour on this. If it's nobody to select for vice chair, we just pick it up the next time. I don't see why there's a rush now today.
Again, I don't want to be controversial, but I take the position, and as legal counsel to the board, that even though Mr. Cohen has resigned, he continues to hold his position until his replacement has been confirmed.
That is if If your term is up, but if you resign, isn't that something different, Attorney Williams?
Correct. The law does not make that distinction. The law says that the trustees continue to serve until their replacement is confirmed.
No, now let me understand this correctly. Did Mr. Trustee Cohen resign or his term expired?
Resigned.
He resigned.
He said
So if he resigned, he leave with the date of his resignation, he leaves. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be?
That is one way that one can interpret it. But as counsel to the board, it is my opinion that based on the law, that he continues to serve until his replacement is confirmed.
Attorney Smith, Attorney Williams, please explain to me the difference between when a trustee's term expires and when a trustee resigns. Resign. Is that the same?
Well, what the effect of that is that he's saying, I no longer want to serve in this capacity, whether because your term has expired or because you submit a resignation. When a person resigns, the position, if you look, I believe the most recent situation may have been what happened at the PSC, is that I think Mr. Burnett continues to serve until a replacement has been named for him.
Excuse me, let me chime in on this. To clarify what the precedent's already been done in my situation was Governor Ross, Trustee Ross, resigned within the first year of the second term, and he stepped down. There was a vacancy, there was an election, there was a delay because of an appeal for over a year until I was actually sworn in. So therefore, there's already been a precedent established here.
No, I take the position that you continue to serve until your replacement is confirmed, but nobody can make you show up at the meeting, which is what happened with Trustee Ross. If he decides he isn't coming, he isn't coming. The same as Mr. McDonald decided he isn't coming, but he still served as a member of the board. If you decide you're not coming, you don't show up. But technically, you're still a member of the board until your replacement is named.
Attorney Williams, I disagree with that.
That's fine.
Yeah, because you are talking about a person that resigned and a trustee that just do not come to meetings. That's not the same.
No.
Trustee McDonald do not come to the meetings, but he has not resigned.
That's true.
So if I decide to resign from the board and I said my resignation is taking effect on March 31st or March 29th, whatever, on March 31st, I don't come to any more meeting. But if my term expires, I continue to come to the meetings until I am replaced by the governor. That's the way I understand.
Well, again, you may disagree, but I'm telling you what the law says. The law says you continue to serve until your replacement is confirmed.
Not if you resign.
The law doesn't say that.
Resign.
Huh?
The law does not say that.
But but Attorney William, if I say I resign as of today and I don't come back anymore.
And I just said you have that option or that right. But from a legal standpoint, you still continue to hold the position until your replacement is confirmed.
Yeah, I got that.
You may choose not to appear or participate, but legally you still hold the position until your replacement is confirmed.
For 6 years, I've been taking the advice of Attorney Williams. Sometimes I wonder why. I'm gonna, if it's not inappropriate, I'm gonna second the nomination of Trustee Cohen to be the vice chair.
I have no problem. I will support him. but I still don't agree that if he sends his resignation to the governor and say to the governor, thank you, but I resign as of.
So let go, we'll deal with it then. Let it happen.
What's the effective date of his resignation?
Supposed to be,
Speak.
I think it's supposed to be March 18th.
Yes,
I thought it was done to
He can speak. He's
in
right there.
alignment with the expiration of his term. Isn't that correct, Dr. Cohen?
yes, it was Ross's second 5-year term was done March 17th, 2021.
So is your term not expire? You're not resigning?
Well, I was informed by Attorney Williams I can't do that, so therefore I resigned.
I inform you of what?
So, well, I made a motion. Mr. Cohen has not yet, as of yet, said no.
And I second it.
It is seconded by.
Then I cannot accept, if it has to go on record, I cannot accept the nomination for that post.
Mhm.
I don't see why we are taking 2 hours on this issue. If he doesn't want to take the vice chair, we don't have anybody to take the vice chair, we move on.
I do not want the vice chair myself. I am getting too old now. I need to spend some time for myself. I probably would resign within the next month as well.
Mhm.
And as trustees, if we don't want to select a vice chair now, I don't see what is the rush. Is it gonna be a problem if we don't have a vice chair, Attorney Williams? Because I have maybe a month on the board as well, so.
Well, wait a minute.
Are you boycotting something?
Well, again, trustees continue to serve until the replacements are confirmed. I mean, if nobody wants the job, then it remains vacant until you have an election.
But as I'm saying, is it could stay vacant until next month. You have 2 trustees coming on next month as well, so. 2 new trustees.
I'm not sure that's accurate that we have 2 trustees coming on next month.
In March.
Don't know yet.
I mean, I think you have 1 trustee coming in March, and when is the election? The election for St. Croix doesn't get finished until April. Is that correct, Mr. Nips?
Something like that, sir.
Yeah, so it's not going to be next month.
But it doesn't matter. We don't have anybody for vice chair now. So what are we gonna do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If nobody wants it, then it remains. If nobody wants it, then it remains vacant.
Well, that's what we were saying. They're gonna stay vacant. I'm not scared the whole 2 hours deciding whether we should have a vice chair or not. I mean, if nobody wants it, we just move on and they just stay vacant.
From what I'm hearing, if Mr. Chairman, is that come March, we may not have a quorum. That's what I'm hearing. Because Trustee Liger said he's planning to resign. The board say you can't, you have to stay until you replace Mr. Liger said no, he resigned, he wouldn't come to meetings. I'm hearing Trustee Smith saying the same thing. So I'm looking at, we may not have quorums to hold meetings. So
it becomes a moot point if you don't have quorum.
Yeah, have a meeting.
Damn.
Good, how with you?
Okay.
All right, I guess what we could, I don't know what to.
Mr. Chair, you have to deal with this. after this meeting ends.
February.
Okay. Okay, hearing no, I'm sorry, Attorney Williams, and we have to move on. Hearing no nomination.
Yeah, I think. So what exactly, what exactly would be our role in the burial service?
In what? So like you asked the question?
Okay.
Is he talking to us or is he on the phone?
Oh, I don't know. Okay. All right, then. I guess we'll move on and go to the next topic.
Chair, I just have a question.
Yes.
I just wanted to get clarification from legal counsel based on the code of this system and the election process. Are we definitely following what we're supposed to do as trustees at this time? This is to the legal counsel for the board.
I'm not sure I understand your question, Trustee Dorsey. My position is the bylaws provide that election of officers shall be held the first meeting in January, which is this meeting. There was a nomination for chairperson, which was approved. I think Mr. Bowie nominated Dr. Cohen, and I'm not sure what happened with that. I think it was seconded, but I'm gathering Dr. Cohen declined the nomination. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So my understanding is at this point, there are no candidates for the position of vice chairperson. So in the absence of a candidate, there can't be an election. So I think the chairman was suggesting that we move, you all move on with the rest of the meeting. So if and when there's a candidate, there can be an election, but the election should be held the first meeting in the January of the year of an election. Does that answer your question, Mr. Dorsey?
As long as we're following protocol, following the bylaws, everything is good. If that's what you just said, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Then we move to item number 2, approval of the Havenside fiscal year 2021 operation budget.
I would like to move to accept the 2021 budget for the Haven site wall. Do you have the bottom figure? Let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on. For $2,682,134.
Did we get a second on that?
Second.
I'd like to, before we vote, I suggest that we amend the motion to include at least the major line items that are included in my report, in the budget committee report, which total is $2,682,134.
Okay. You want to designate the amounts for each category, to have that written in, not just the lump sum?
Yeah, that's my recommendation.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's I would amend my motion or reword my motion.
No, normally we would just attach a copy of the budget to the resolution so that it's clear what is being approved. But if you want to list the specific line items, you can.
What's your wishes, Trustee Bowie?
I wish that they would do both, because the, as I indicated in the report, I listed 4 line items that total the 2,684,134. And I also said that I recommend that the language says that the specifics, the details included in the presentation by staff, which has the details, be incorporated by reference as part of the budget.
So yes, I would like to make the motion with the 4 items that were specific and the amounts, each one, like personal services, fringe benefits, 1,596,579. So each one of those 4 supplies, other services, and utilities have their designated portion of that 2,000,006.
So would it be easier to say as recommended by the budget committee and included in budget committee's report? Would that cover it?
That's how the resolution would read.
Okay.
Okay, so we have it straight now. Do we have a second?
Ms. Smith, second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Barry,
Yes.
Trustee Cohen,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey. Trustee Dorsey,
He's on mute. He's on mute.
Yes.
Trustee Liger. Trustee Liger. I don't see him in attendance. Let me see.
He's there. He's on
Yeah,
mute.
he's present, he's on mute.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith. Trustee Smith.
She's on mute too.
I don't see her on the, I think she left. Oh, Trustee Smith, she's there. Trustee Smith,
Yes,
absent.
She said yes.
I am here.
Yes.
They need answer.
Chairman Calendar,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you, sir. The Hammond fiscal year 2021 operation budget has been approved. Do you have any unfinished business? Okay. And this portion of the meeting will be closed to the public for matters pertaining to trade secrets or financial or commercial information. Need a motion to go into executive session?
I move that we go into executive session, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Trustee Barry,
Yes.
Trustee Cohen,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger,
Yes.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Calendar,
Yes.
Chair 6 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you. So we'll be in executive session. We need a 5-minute break. Please, 5 minutes break. And sorry, attorney, Ms. Sherry.
It's okay.
The young
Good
lady.
afternoon, everyone.
Good day. So give us a few minutes and we will be right back.